Hello, people of YouTube land, and hello to those that are part of the former Cringe Crew community members Discord. Oh, God damn it, I fucking butchered that. I wrote that down wrong. Part of the
do you want to restart because you just totally derailed yourself?
No, we're keeping this going. It's gonna be a thing, all right? The fact that I don't give a fuck really shows you about this movie, okay? All right. But anyway, yeah, it's hello to those that are part of the former Cringe Crew community members Discords, and the people who follow Ted and I on Twitch, and hello to whoever's listening to this on Spotify or wherever else we decide to put this on. I am Traductus.
And I'm Ted.
And this is the Ted is Not Your Father's Movie Review podcast.
I like the other one better. The other one might stick.
So we're going to stick with the movie review podcast?
Yeah, just the movie podcast. Dude, that's so good.
All right. I was figuring I'd make a D-word reference, but...
Still made me chuckle, but I think the last one was better.
Yeah. Anyway, God damn it. This is where we take a director's filmography and review each movie one by one and go over the background info and talk about how we like and dislike about the movies. We are still on Sam Raimi, and unfortunately we're reviewing The Gift. So The Gift was released in December 22, 2000 and had a budget of $10 million and had a box office return of $44.4 million. Yes, this made more money than For the Love of the Game. All right. The movie stars Cate Blanchett, Greg Kinnear, Giovanni Ribisi, Keanu Reeves, J.K. Simmons, Hilary Swank, Katie Holmes, Gary Cole, and Rosemary Harris. The script was written by Billy Bob Thornton before his breakout role in Sling Blade, which he wrote, directed, and starred in, and was based on rumors of his grandmother being a clairvoyant. And that's all the fucking info that I could find. All right? I literally looked at Wikipedia. Wikipedia has jack shit. Doesn't say anything. Just says that it was written by Billy Bob Thornton.
Flawless.
Okay. So I had to go to IMDb, and that's how I got, the rest of the shit I found out. And then I just basically came to the conclusion that despite this getting like mixed to positive reviews, basically just said like it's okay, but like it's cliche, but whatever the fuck ever. But to be honest, I'm under the opinion no one gives a shit about this fucking movie except for the people who made Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, which make a reference on this. And truthfully, the reference is just that Katie Holmes shows her tits in the movie. That's it.
It is a one-line throwaway, and that's the move. We're done here. See you guys next week. Just kidding.
Yeah. But no, like, that's why I wanted to keep it like a secret, as in, like, usually when we see these things, even if like the movie's bad, there's usually like a long like description about like the production and everything. This has jack shit.
Yeah.
Nobody cares enough about this fucking movie to even document of how it got made. I assume like with Raimi working with Billy Bob Thornton, that's why Thornton ended up having Raimi be director.
I mean, rationality makes sense, especially because the last time we saw Billy Bob Thornton in a Raimi movie, right? Like, it wasn't like a superbly huge role, so I can't imagine that at that point Billy Bob Thornton had too many things going on, right? Like, yeah. So I mean, I guess it's rational, but
and J.K. Simmons and Gary Cole are in this because Gary Cole was in Gary Cole was in Simple Plan, and J.K. Simmons was in the last movie, so.
Yeah, also Aunt May was in this one. That's fun.
Yep. Rosemary Harris.
Yeah. Aunt May.
But anyway, we're going to go into the plot, so...
Yeah. So, the main character can kind of, like, halfway tell the future. Think, like, not entirely in control of it, a la That's So Raven on Disney Channel, where it just kind of happens to her that she can see some shit, and she tries to do that in like a therapeutic way for people. One of her clients is married to Keanu Reeves, who says the N-word and beats women, which was very jarring. And then they're trying to solve a murder when one of her friends' significant others, who's also the daughter of somebody important, fucking goes missing. So she's trying to use her That's So Raven power to solve a murder. And that's the movie. That's the movie. Yeah. So I guess we go to likes and dislikes. I feel like with your setup, Stallman, it only makes more sense to go dislikes first.
Fuck this movie. All right. The biggest issue with this movie is the writing, especially the pacing, because this is a slow freaking movie. And on top of that, all right, this entire movie is basically set up for like, what, a half hour, maybe 45 minutes, maybe 15 minutes of an actual fucking movie.
You know, it's a shame. I agree with you, right? Like that the pacing sucks, and the long exposition to get to the part that's interesting, right? It's absolutely there, but the problem is that I feel like even the plot in the exposition could be exciting if it were written better. Like,
absolutely,
the murder trial that is absolutely a red herring, right? Like, is a fascinating plot point, but they do it in the most boring way possible. So even when it feels like it should matter, it doesn't fucking matter. I think that we've done a whole series on fucking Christopher Nolan. Clearly the two of us like nonlinear storytelling, right? Like, and even the way in which they use the nonlinear storytelling is back channeling when they realize they didn't explain stuff well enough, like to again further the importance of the end of the movie rather than the interesting stuff in between. Like, it just, the storytelling, the progression, the pacing sucks.
Ted described this as shitty Memento.
Yeah, it genuinely it is. I had that note written down. It's shitty Memento, dude.
With the Sixth Sense thrown in there.
It's quite literally, oh shit, I had a memory that happens in the future, and that'll explain the stuff that you've already seen before, right? Like, it's shitty Memento that they tried to tell in a forwards direction instead of a backwards one.
Yeah. God. I also have to say that this takes place in the South, and as far as I know, none of the actors are from the South.
It also definitely doesn't have to take place in the South. There's nothing that ties it there, and that drives me nuts.
Yeah, like she's thrown in a pond, not in a swamp, but like all the Southern accents in this, except for maybe Katie Holmes's, is like not good. It's very forced. It's very foghorn leghorn type of thing.
Some of them are kind of passable, right? Like, if you ignore the state that they actually set you in, most of them are like not egregious enough that they're going to drive you insane. But absolutely,
I mean, I guess Hilary Swank's is actually not bad either. But like, fucking Keanu Reeves is like not viable. J.K. Simmons's is really jarring.
I didn't think that what's her fucking the lead actress, is it fucking
Kate Blanchett did an all right job, although her Australian accent bleeds in there every now and then. It's
passable, right? Like, is this set in like Illinois, Indiana, something like that? Like somewhere like,
I want to say like Louisiana or some shit like that.
I thought I remembered them saying it was further north, but either way, like it's too north to sound that bad. Like, even when you get some twang, right? Like, because that does definitely happen. It's far too.
Unless it's like West Virginia, but even then, that's more nasally.
It's far too like southern, like the like a South Carolina, Georgia drawl rather than where it's actually set. It's again, if you're paying attention to it, it'll drive you nuts. If you're not paying attention to it, it's passable enough. You're not going to go insane.
Yeah, I gotta fucking find out where the fuck they actually fucking filmed this piece of shit.
Where they set it, not where they filmed it.
Oh yeah, where they set it.
Yeah.
Oh, Georgia.
Georgia. Okay. Then maybe I'm incorrect. That's fine. I could have sworn they said Illinois, but it is what it is. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you though. Like it's definitely my big complaints here are that it gets drawn out. It's definitely like weird approach to being Southern when it doesn't have to be, and no one in the movie has that accent. So I get it.
There's a lot of sense of disbelief things that just don't work. Like, like just because of the writing just makes it not like you can't really suspend your disbelief on a lot of things.
There's a lot of this that's like convenient that makes me agree with you. The moments in which she looks at a fucking log and she's like, oh, logs look like dead bodies, so now I'm gonna see the real killer, and that's so Raven Vision, right? Like, yeah, I get it.
Shit, what else was? Oh, and what's also funny, she reads cards. The funny thing is that the card readings that she's doing, she's not using, tarot cards. She's actually using cards that they used to, if you ever seen the original Ghostbusters movie, like at the beginning where, Peter Venkman, Bill Murray is like testing those people to see if they're psychic. And it's like, oh yeah, what's the shape on the card? That's the cards that she's using. Those are used for that purpose, not like telling someone's fortune.
I don't know nothing about that shit, so I can't complain about it, but I will take your word for it. That's a fallacy too. But one other thing that I've got here, they use a lot of imagery in this movie, right? They especially within her visions, they paint a lot of pictures that like are just kind of purposeless. Right? They just kind of like push things on you to make you feel uncomfortable that have no real draw into the plot. They don't necessarily represent something that she needs to uncover. They're just kind of discomforting.
They look, and it looks great too. Like the cinematography on that stuff. Not to jump over to like likes or anything, but like a lot of that stuff is like really interesting. If they would have like leaned more onto that.
Well, I don't even like the imagery was fine. Like you said, it was shot well. It looked good, right? I mean, again, not to jump to likes, but like the camera work, the shots that they used were all fantastic, right? Don't get me wrong. I loved it, right? But I guess it's just like, oh man, I saw a dude by a pond with a fiddle, and that must mean she's fucking drowning somewhere wrapped in chains in a white dress. That's what that means. I know it. Haha. Right? And like, I recognize that some of these visions, there are things that are like very cut and dry, very clear. She can definitely see them, and they are definitive towards the plot. But there's a whole lot of like imagery that's just supposed to be fucking uncomfortable, right? I don't know. It's just very jarring when you're like, what does this mean? And she's like, nothing. But I know the body's in a lake. Like, great. You didn't have to show me her first person perspective if it doesn't actually fucking explain anything, right? Like I don't know. The Disney Channel should not get it more right with what it is that you see than a fucking Sam Raimi film. And then I guess one other small dislike. This one we mentioned last week that For the Love of the Game didn't necessarily feel entirely like a Raimi movie. If you watched A Simple Plan and The Gift back to back, you're like, this is definitely the same bumfuck director who won't have a job again. They are the same shots, man. It could have like they could have just left the cameras in place and found the movies by accident. Definitely the same director.
Yeah, I will say this though, like there are a little bit more Raimi shots in this, more like the setting, especially like during like the visions, especially like where they're like showing like a vision of the pond, where it's kind of like a bayou with like a shit ton of fog. Like that's very like early Raimi Evil Dead-esque. There's also like a stop motion sequence of like a lily that's rotting in Kate Blanchett's hands. Not head, Jesus Christ.
It's just growing out of her fucking nose, dude. Hell yeah.
So there is that. But I basically agree with you, Ted.
Yeah, it's very much the same movie as A Simple Plan, at least in terms of like director feel, right? Moving on to likes.
Wait, no.
Oh.
I do have a dislike,
Hit me.
and this is a spoiler. All right. So they catch the right guy. I'm not gonna say who the guy is because it really doesn't fucking matter. But let's just say it's not Keanu Reeves. That means Keanu Reeves gets out of jail, and everything's supposed to be fine and hunky dory. But like,
yes,
Keanu Reeves, like, threatened to burn her as a witch,
and has a history of beating at least 3 women that you visually see inside this movie.
And on top of that, he also has broken into her house numerous times. He's gonna get freed. He's gonna be pissed. So, like you said with the last movie, where you said there was a few blind spots, I think that's a big fucking blind spot in this movie.
Hard to disagree. There were other shitty parts in this that I hadn't even considered that, but you're absolutely goddamn right, dude.
Now we'll get into likes.
All right. So before we jump too far ahead, I definitely want to sit on the cinematography for a bit.
Yeah.
I think that all of the shots that were used were super realistic. The camera felt like it was in the right place all the goddamn time. Sound in this movie was terrific. The only real complaint I have with sound was the TV that was too loud after the first time Keanu Reeves had broken into her house. I recognize that they did it so you could hear the religious things because he's trying to call her a witch, and I fucking get it.
Right.
But it kind of drowns out the like eeriness of she's searching her house for the killer, right? I think that there are scenes. Okay, I forget exactly which reading it is. It might be. It's not the last reading she does. I think it's the second to last one. I think it's when she's reading Keanu Reeves' wife about halfway through the movie. You can genuinely hear the sound of genuine leaves blowing in the background, and they are perfectly far away, right? Like they are. Hey, we have no sound backing to this. We want it to feel natural. Here's what it would sound like to be inside your closed-in back porch with a window open, kind of ambient noise. The sound in this is phenomenal. And not like over the top in a way that's like in your face really good. It's very subtle, very intentional, very, very good. The camera's always in the right place. There are very few shots that you can say that things are wrong. You always feel like you're where you need to be to watch the what is unfolding from the perfect place. No complaints, cinematography. It is flawless. I kind of like the way that there was a pretty ambiguous start.
Yeah.
When I wrote that note, it was intentionally I had the intent of presenting it as a dislike. I hated the idea that you didn't know who she was or what she was doing or why she was important. I actually looking back and reflecting, I kind of like the way that they built into who she was to develop her character rather than giving you everything on the front end. I think that really contributed to like your discovering the character's ability with her. Which is kind of cool. I also had another dislike that kind of morphed into a like with some hindsight. I think that there was a really interesting blend between what was real and what was the visions. There were a couple points where it was like definitely intentional, right? That like, you know, this is a vision, but there's also other points in which you're kind of blurring that line and you're not sure. So when she's seeing the dead body again after the trial in the bathtub, yes, it's a vision. She didn't flood her house in 0.4 seconds, right? Like that's not how that fucking works. But they do a very good job at like, hey, this is fear, this is a vision. You know that like this is foreshadowing to there's more, right? But in the dream scene where she wakes up out of her sleep being choked, you think it's very realistic that Keanu Reeves could be on top of her, choking her, trying to kill her in her sleep, right? And it's not until after it's over, you're like, oh shit, it was a vision. Like, I really kind of love that blurred line of experiencing it the way she experiences it, where it's very real, very tangible. Ah, shit, it's a vision. Let me recover for a second. I like the way that the movie plays around that.
Yeah, I agree. Also, there are like performances, even though I was kind of like critical of like, you know, like the accents, but like so like there are like acting performances that are really great, like especially how Kate Blanchett and J.K. Simmons play off of each other.
Mhm.
Like that's done super well, like especially like just the looks of J.K. Simmons every time like Kate Blanchett has like some sort of premonition, he's just like looking at her like, are you fucking for real?
Yeah.
This is so stupid.
Yeah. I will not say a single goddamn good thing about Billy Bob Thornton's inability to fucking screenwrite, because this was fucking terribly written. But the one thing that I will say is that I appreciated the fact that the movie kept you guessing. That, like, even when it should have been clear who the killer was, it was not. And even when they revealed it, there were still some doubts for me. That, like, maybe there's another premonition, there's another fold to the story. He admits it, and you're still kind of like, but are we sure? It does a good job at keeping you guessing, but only in the last half an hour.
Yeah. That's really all I got.
Yeah, short, sweet, boring ass fucking movie. Let's hit me with your rankings, Stallman.
Dead last.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, I don't know.
The only reason why I'm saying that, all right, It's Murder is definitely objectively a worse movie, all right? And I would not want to watch It's Murder ever again, whatsoever. The only reason why it's not this is worse is because It's Murder is done by basically a high school kid going, and also like someone that's going into college, you know, someone that, you know, wants to make a movie but doesn't necessarily know how to make a movie, you know?
Fair.
This movie, like, has been, you know, and this isn't to fault to Raimi, this is all the fault of Billy Bob Thornton. And the fact of the matter is that Billy Bob Thornton, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, he wrote Sling Blade, which is a critically acclaimed movie and was a box office, you know, did well in the box office. It kicked off Billy Bob Thornton's career. But, like, he wrote that, like, a while ago. I'm not sure if he wrote this Sling Blade after this or before this, but Sling Blade did come out before this movie. And it's just, like, the dude knows how to write a movie.
Press X to doubt.
As Ted and I were talking about this earlier before we started, like, you know, the podcast, like, Ted's just like, yeah, I'm not even going to give Sling Blade a chance because I don't fucking believe you that he can actually write a fucking script after watching this.
Real as hell.
So to me, it's like, you freaking knew better. You had all the freaking budget in the world in this, and this is what we got.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I'm ranking it lower.
I look, it's valid. It's valid. But I refuse to give context to It's Murder and give him any benefit of the doubt, and absolutely fucking not. So this is second to last for me.
All right.
Yeah. Not giving it any credit, but It's Murder is the worst thing I have ever watched. Ever. I'd go back and do the Bond podcast. I would go back and do the Bond podcast a second, a third, and a fourth time before I ever touch It's Murder again, dude. Like, that movie was so fucking terrible.
I mean, yeah.
I refuse to give it context. It does not deserve the credit of context. It was fucking awful.
I don't know what if I would watch It's Murder or fucking Casino Royale 1967 again. If you had a bolt,
I'd take Casino Royale again.
In my head, I would literally just be like, just pull the trigger.
A dozen times in a row, Casino Royale. A dozen times in a row, back to back to back to back. I can't fucking sleep or blink.
The 67 one.
Yes. Don't let me blink until it's played 12 times straight, and I'd rather do that than It's Murder, dude. It is so fucking awful. But yeah, second to last for this one for me. All right, glad that one's over with. We get Spider-Man next week, yeah?
Yep.
Hell yeah, dude. Finally, good films. All right.
Hopefully they'll be consistent after this.
You know what? To be completely real with you, I am curious as to how we're going to see what we've seen. Like, we've got 10 films of Raimi at this point before Spider-Man, right? And like, I'm wondering if we can see the Raimi-isms, or if I'm going to be blinded by childhood nostalgia and Tobey Maguire to like I'm very curious to see how much I notice Sam Raimi
which is honestly why we picked Sam Raimi.
Yeah, because fucking Tobey Maguire's the shit, dude. The best Spider-Man ever, and you can't tell me otherwise, damn it.
I mean, I was just talking about like how like with all we've seen, and then now we get to Spider-Man. It's kind of weird how we get from like Evil Dead to Spider-Man, you know?
Very true. Very true. We have seen quite a fucking blend of movies, which is kind of fucking crazy considering the other directors we've done on this podcast. Like, this feels
right. It's honestly a refresher, to be honest.
It feels like we're doing a catch-all rather than a director, if we're going to be completely and totally real. Like,
yeah.
But not to say that is a bad thing at all, but you know, it is what it is. All right. As always, thank you guys for watching. We have done hundreds of these other fucking movie podcasts. You can check all of those out right here on this Discord, even though it's rebranded since we started. You can also check out all kinds of other content, gaming and shorts and fucking other podcasts. There's a lot of fucking shit here. Go watch every single video we have without blinking. It'll still be better than It's Murder. If you guys are interested in our own individual content, you can catch us both on Twitch. Stallman at Traductus, myself at Ted Green Eagles. Like we said, back next week with Spider-Man, the best Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire. Come at me, I dare you. He's the best one.
He is.
And then
I just like the second movie better than the first one.
He's still the best Spider-Man. Get out of here with your Andrew Garfields and your fucking Tom Holland. Fuck all of that, dude. No. It is Tobey Maguire or else. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Love you, appreciate you. We'll see you here next week for Spider-Man.
See ya.